Hello everyone! Welcome back to a very special video. I'm DTM as always, and we have the July 2022 update with the new weapon refines. Yeah, this has definitely been looking forward to, especially one unit in particular, but we'll see whether or not it lives up to the expectations, or lack thereof. And yeah, before we get into that, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that jazz to help support the channel. Only takes 5 seconds to subscribe, but it truly does help out this channel a lot. And I really do appreciate all the constant support. And yeah, nothing else to do but to start with the elephant in the room, I guess. Legendary Roy. So, Legendary Roy's refine and remix was definitely anticipated, given how bad he was beforehand. Unfortunately, I don't think this really does much to him. It's not bad by any means. It's not like FE's levels of bad, but I don't think it's good either. Because, especially as a Red Sword Infantry, basically his refine, his base effects remains the same, and on top of that he gets Spectrum 4, special cooldown charge +1, and offensive tempo effect, just the offensive part of tempo. And so, yeah, I mean, again, this is workable. Like, having guard, having a special cooldown charge +1 is useful to constantly spam like 2-turn specials like Moonbow or Noontime, for example. Unfortunately, he does not have Slaying, so you can't really run Bonfire or Iceberg or any of the other 3-charge specials. You can't even run like Aether really well either because of the lack of Slaying, and so... And obviously, lack of Slaying also means that you can't really run Gale Force unless you run like Quicken Pulse, for example. So, Roy, honestly, this is very, very tame. And this is also taking into account his remix skill, which, if you all remember, is Human Virtue 2. It basically gives you and your allies within 2 spaces attack speed +6 as a visible buff. It grants like the allies bonus doubler effect for allies within 2 spaces of himself, and he gets damage reduction based on the buffs his allies have within 2 spaces. And so that sounds like good, right? It sounds decent at least, but the problem is that's within 2 spaces, right? Realistically, for most scenarios, you can really only have 1 unit within 2 spaces of an allies, like you have Roy and your support unit, and Roy only gives like attack speed +6, so that is only like 12% damage reduction on the first hit. So you'd probably need to have your unit within 2 spaces of an ally also buff defense and res +6, but still, that is only like 24% damage reduction for the first hit. You can like get more players in there, but that also leaves them vulnerable to getting sniped unless you're running a save ball or a far save unit, in which case why are you using Roy in the first place? And it's not even like you can really use this in Summoner's Duels, where you're limited by like 1 save unit. When you have units like Legendary Marth, or Not, or Dual Ike, who can actually do something else besides just frontline. Roy doesn't really have anything that would make him stand out, especially considering Legendary Marth. Like, Legendary Marth is just a lot better, in my personal opinion. He gets bonus doubler, he gets unity, he gets like just +4 to all stats, I think for existing, or like having bonuses active. Like, doesn't have like a 2-space condition, and also has like fire sweep, I think, in his B. Gets all stats buff with his special. So yeah, compared to that, Roy is just absolutely disappointing. I know there's a lot of people on Reddit that are desperately wishing that this is good. And again, I want to make it clear, this is not FE's levels of bad, but I don't think it's good either, especially in an oversaturated class as a Red Sword Infantry. So like, realistically, you'll basically be using him as sort of like an Omni tank. And yeah, there's just so many other units that does that better. Like, I'm sorry. Like, this is not that good, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I could be proven wrong, but I don't see it. So, really sad for Roy fans. Like, there's not really a place for him, unfortunately, either. Like, in Arena, he'll just be, like, absolutely destroyed with all the dual croms, legendary croms, dual daggers even. that ignores his like damage reduction. And also like low skills exist as well, so or panic effects exists as well. So like even if you run like bonus doubler seal and double stack on bonus doubler, I don't think that's the most consistent. And especially when like legendary Marth can do that better. So yeah, not a good day for Roy fans. And does not leave me with much hope for Brave Dimitri's, since he also has a DC weapon. But who knows, IS might surprise us. What he really needed was no follow-up. That's what I personally think he would have needed. Like, not having no follow-up as a sword infantry unit is really bad, or like any effects to help against like doubles or preventing foes doubles. And yeah, like, I don't know why they do this to him. I honestly don't. I mean, I know why. It's because he has a DC weapon. Anyways, that's enough about my rant about Roy. Let's move on to Fjorm. And Fjorm was already good, and I think this effect Refine doubles down on her support capabilities. So the base effect changes the HP condition, so now so now she just needs to out HP her opponent by at least 1, which is a lot more. Well, it's not a lot more easy to get. It's just like obviously 2, but I mean it's something. And obviously, she grants now attack speed +4 as sort of a joint drive effect, and neutralizes penalties. Again, this is doubling down on her support role, and I actually think this is pretty good. Like, it's not the most out-of-the-world Refine out there, but it's pretty good. Like, granting attack speed +4 as, like, drive buffs is always going to be good, especially for, like, far save tanking. And while, like, neutralizing penalties is an effect that, say, Brave Hector and a lot of other far save units have, it's still a really good effect for armors that don't have that effect. And yeah, again, I like this. I like it a lot. Again, doubles down on that support role and makes the condition a lot more lenient. Yeah, pretty nice. Anyways, let's move on to the most interesting one of the batch, in my opinion, and that is Kjelle. So, Kjelle, to my knowledge, doesn't have a preference weapon when she released, so this is all completely new. At the start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25%, inflict attack defense -5 on foe during combat, and foe cannot make a follow-up attack. So this is the good half of YURI Fighter, so that foes cannot make a follow-up attack onto you, helps with her survivability, which is really good as an armor with low speed, and inflict attack defense -5 is also really good, again ensuring that survivability. But what makes her really interesting is the Refine effect. If foe initiates combat or foe's HP is greater than or equal to 75% at the start of combat, inflicts attack defense -5 on foe during combat, and reduces foe's attack during combat by X% of foe's attack at the start of combat. X equals number of units base HP, attack speed, defense, resistance stat that are greater than foe stat at the start of combat times 5 plus 10. Okay, that's a bit of a mouthful. So effectively, like discounting this section right here, she gets attack defense -10 infliction on the foe, and deny follow-up attack, and this thing. So to basically make this understandable, if she outstats the foe, depending on the number of stats she outstats the foes by, she gets like 5 more percentage points in this foe's attack reduction. So say Kjelle outstats HP, defense, and resistance, but not attack and speed. This basically gives 15 plus 10, so that makes a 25% reduction of the foe's attack. Which is really strong if you think about it, like this reduction of foe's attack, because this does not get neutralized by lethality. And so, I just want to give you this example. This is nearly max invested plus 9 YURI with lethality. This is lethality in the special, and this is just an unmerged Kjelle, right? Completely unmerged, no skills at all. And yeah, Kjelle survives against this max invested lethality YURI. Like, it's actually pretty nuts if you think about it. Now, I don't want to say this is like completely Breakin' or Brave Hector's level. The problem with this is that it is based on visible buffs. And so as time goes on, like meeting those visible buffs will get harder and harder. She does get Dragon Flowers to help with that, but still, it would have been a lot better. It was just like including in combat buffs and debuffs as well, because again, like you have this attack defense -10 effectively that could really help swing those stat swings. And this also makes it so that you want skills with like visible buffs like Fortress Defense, for example, which I don't think is really optimal. But still, like this is very interesting and definitely has a niche as a save armor for Kjelle. And yeah, honestly super excited to see how people use her, because honestly, people just foddered her for a lot and no one really has her. So it'll be really interesting to see for like the true fans what they do with this, because this is definitely very interesting and I really like this. And I suspect that this reduction of X% of foes attack will be IS's way to counter things like lethality or Deadeye. It's just something to think about, I guess. Or like Nana as well. But yeah, let's move on to Pain. So Pain, the base effect is now effective against cavalry foes if unit is adjacent to only beasts or dragons, or if unit is not adjacent to any ally, grants all stats +4 to unit during combat. And also if foe is not a beast or dragon foe, grants an additional all stats +4 to unit and inflicts special cooldown charge -1 on foe per attack during combat, and then the beast effect. And so basically, initially, Pain only had stats +3 and effective against cavalry foes. And so this obviously increases that to all stats +4 and grants an additional +4 to all stats and guard. So that is already a lot more in the base effect alone. The refine effect is then on top of that, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25%, grants all stats +4 to unit during combat, and also the following effects will occur based on the value of unit speed minus foe speed. If greater than or equal to 1, unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack. If greater than or equal to 5, unit deals +7 damage. So effectively, if all these conditions are met, she gets +12 to all stats, guard, guaranteed follow-up, and +7 true damage, which is quite a lot. Now, if I'm reading this correctly, I think the speed check is visible, if I'm not mistaken. Like, if I'm reading this correctly, it seems to be visible, which is a bit unfortunate because as you can see, Pain does not exactly have the greatest speed, so she would really appreciate the +12 speed she would have gotten just in the weapon. But still, like, just having +12 and guard is already very good. Having effective cavalry is really good, as like the Micaiah's show, although obviously she doesn't have armored effectiveness as well. And yeah, if you are able to meet all these conditions, especially against like a slower far safe unit, or a slower near safe unit, like this is pretty decent, all things considering. Now, I don't exactly know where she has a place, to be perfectly honest, but as a free unit, like she can definitely be made to work, I think. Like, it's decent. It's not like broken by anything, but at least it's not bad. Anyways, let's go on to Mordecai. And Mordecai has Weapon Refine on his preference weapon, Sabertooth Fang. Grants defense +3 if movement assist kill is used by a unit or target's unit. Inflicts all stats -5 on foe within 2 spaces of the unit and target through their next actions after movement. At start of combat, if foe's HP is greater than or equal to 75%, grants attack defense +5 to unit during combat. And then the beast effect. So yeah, compared to his base effect, the infliction is 1 more point of stat infliction, and also he now also gets attack defense +5 on top of that. So overall, pretty good. What's interesting is that the refine effect, if movement assist skill is used by unit or target unit, inflicts special cooldown count +1 on foes within 2 spaces of unit and target. If unit is within 3 spaces of an ally, grants attack defense +5 to unit during combat. So yeah, this is basically like a pulse smoke effect that you can do by just like shoving or smiting a unit. Obviously, this only applies within 2 spaces of a unit, so it's not like that great of a range, but still, it's still really good. And this just double downs again on his support role, inflicting that debuff, inflicting the pulse smoke thingy. I just wish like he could have also granted this attack defense +5 as like a drive buff instead, because realistically, you don't really want to use Mordecai as a unit, as a carry unit. You want to use him as a support unit, so this attack defense +5 is not exactly helping with that support role. But still, this is pretty decent, all things considering, especially for a 4-star unit. So, I'm down with this. I'm down with it. It does allow him to do like a supporting role, as I mentioned before. It's not the biggest thing in the world though, but it's interesting nevertheless. And yeah, last but certainly not least, we have Mareeta. And Mareeta, new base effect is Slaying. At the start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25%, grants attack speed +5 to unit during combat, and also if unit initiates combat, unit can make a follow-up attack before foe can counterattack. And so this is actually really huge compared to the base. In the base, obviously she does not have stat buffs, but also the condition is HP greater than or equal to 50%. And so having that reduced to 25% is really huge and allows her to more consistently be able to Gale Force and initiate as a Gale Force unit. Because like obviously as a Gale Force unit, you want to get below 50% to get into wand range, which obviously turns off her weapon. But not anymore, because that's been reduced to 25%. And obviously, having attack speed +5 helps with that, helps secure kills. The Refine effect is really interesting though. At the start of combat, if foe's HP is greater than or equal to 75%, grants attack speed +5 to unit, neutralizes effect that inflicts special cooldown charge -1 on unit during combat, and also, if foe's speed is greater than foe's defense at the start of combat, inflicts speed -8 on foe during combat, otherwise inflicts defense -8 on foe during combat. So this is very interesting, this last half of the Refine effect. Obviously, neutralizing guard effects is really good, again for Gale Force, and you'll probably be using her as sort of a Gale Force initiator, probably. Or at least like a player face unit. I can definitely see that working really well with her weapon. This last part is very interesting. But basically, I think it just helps meet the speed check, because if your foe's speed is greater than the foe's defense, that probably means that the foe is really speedy, so you want to inflict a speed -8 on them in order for you to meet speed checks like Flashing Blade or just being able to double. Otherwise, they're probably a bulky unit, and so inflicting defense -8 on foe will help get through their bulk and actually allow you to do damage. And if their defense is greater than speed, you'd probably outspeed them anyways, given that Mareeta is optimized for speed. So yeah, that probably makes sense. It's nice. I think there's a lot of competition for Red Sword Gale Force units right now, but at least she has Slaying. She does have the neutralizing guard, which is definitely very helpful for Gale Forcing. And yeah, I think she'll be pretty good. Again, I don't think none of these units, besides Roy, are like bad in any means. Like, they can definitely be made to work. I think Shell is definitely the most interesting of the batch. Time will tell how good that will be, because again, having visible stat checks does not particularly age well as things goes on. But at least for now, she is definitely very interesting and very strong. Definitely has a unique niche. Fjorm, again, doubles down on support. And these three on the bottom, like, they're decent to good, I would say, and can definitely be made to work. Roy, again, as I mentioned, is very disappointing, especially considering what Legendary Marth had. And while you can definitely make him work, unfortunately, I don't think it's particularly good. Again, I don't think any of these refines are FEH levels of bad. Most of them, I think, are decent and definitely can be made to work, but I don't know, this is a very interesting batch, I have to say. Very interesting. But yeah, the next thing on the update is the new seals, and this is very spicy because, I mean, attack speed push 3 is whatever. Bonus doubler 3 though is super interesting. So this is just a huge buff to units like Legendary Marth and like Noe. Obviously, like, I think IS wanted you to use this for Legendary Roy, but like Legendary Marth just does it better. And also like Noe also does it better in my personal opinion. And yeah, this is going to make like raid bosses in Summoners duels very strong. But in case you're very having a hard time with that, IS did release a new duel unit that shuts off foes' buffs, so coincidence? I think not. Also, Valentine's Lucina, obviously, and other Daunt and Lol effects like still exist, so it's not going to be as consistent as, say, a form skill, but still, don't make no mistake, this is extremely strong. Having bonus doubler as its seals will just, like, make raid bosses even more powerful. And it's honestly sort of scary, not gonna lie. But yeah, other than that, we did get the stats. By the way, thank you for both Phoenix Master and Mr. Gengar for these graphics, really do appreciate it. Thor is a lot more bulky than I thought she would be. This basically makes her like a blue Eitri, I guess, except obviously they can't Kanto, and this is a lot more min-max than Eitri in my personal opinion. And obviously, like, they have a dual skill, whereas Eitri doesn't. So I guess that's sort of the trade-off. So yeah, definitely going to be very strong in something like Summoner's Duels, in my personal opinion, and potentially also Aetherite's defense. It'll be interesting to see how people will use her on Aetherite's defense. Niffle, as we expected, is very high in attack and speed, middling in defense and resistance, although it's not bad by any means. Erica, again, as we expected, is high on attack and speed, so that does hit her survivability, especially since she does not have the damage reduction that Brave Erica has. So you probably want to protect her against, like, with a far save unit against bow units. Although I'm pretty sure like melee units will also be able to get rid of her pretty easily, especially if they have like an auto double or something. Leon is absolutely atrocious, so we don't talk about him. And Seth is decent. Very competitive class right now, unfortunately. And yeah, I think we have so many free axe calves at this point that I don't think Seth is anything in particular unique. And yeah, those are the updates for July 2022. Very interesting update this time around. And yeah, super excited to cover this for y'all. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite refine is from this batch. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all the jazz to help support the channel. Only takes 5 seconds to subscribe, but truly does help out this channel a lot. And let me know, and I really do appreciate all the constant support. And yeah, let me know again down in the comments which refine is your favorite. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and see you all next time.